Hey Maya,
Hey Allison, how are you?
I'm doing well. I was actually just digging through my closet so that I could find my Grid
Oh
110
my
t-shirt.
gosh,
And then
yes,
I
we're gonna be
realized you're wearing it.
yes, I love that. Oh my gosh, we're gonna be twinning.
Love.
So
Hey
cool.
Elizabeth, and thanks so much Grid 110 for doing this.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on with us. First, I'll just introduce myself. My name is Maya, and I'm one of the marketing interns at Grid110. And this Pride Month, June 2021, woo, we're focusing on our founders of the LGBTQ plus community by, celebrating their leadership, amplifying their story. Mentioned earlier, we had live last Friday with alumni founder Janae. So thank you just to all our community for tuning in and supporting your fellow communities. Today, I'm joined by 110 alumni founder Alison from Ruth Health, um, co-founder, CEO of Ruth Health. Um, Hello, Alison. I'm so excited to have you on today.
Hey Maya, same here. Huge shout out to any of the people I know IRL who are here. Hey Sarah Honickman. Hey Mickey Reynolds, a very important Grid 110 person. And hello Elizabeth. And thank you for having me, Maya. You did a great job prepping me before this, so I'm ready to go.
Awesome. And yeah, I would love to just keep shouting out all the people you know. I'm sure they would love to hear, get a shout out. And everyone in the comments, we would love it if you have any questions for Allison, any comments, just send those in throughout the live. So yeah, we can just kick it off now. First of all, Allison, I would love it if you could just give an introduction of yourself and your company.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully everyone can hear me. I know sometimes lives are a little choppy. Please tell us in the comments if this is choppy for you.
Yes.
My name is Alison Greenberg. I'm co-founder and CEO of Ruth Health, along with my amazing co-founder, Audrey Wu. And we are a maternity care company. We deliver house calls and telehealth to pregnant people. And very exciting update is that we actually have a postpartum pilot. We've already soft launched our prenatal pilot. You'll hear this here first. This is a Grid 110 exclusive. Our our postpartum pilot, which is focused on pelvic floor physical therapy. So pelvic recovery for postpartum people who just had a baby. We can also do it prenatally. It's very important to take care of your pelvic floor when you're pregnant and after you've had the baby. So that postpartum pilot is going to be launching globally. So not here in New York where we launched our prenatal pilot, globally in
Wow.
2 weeks. In 2 weeks.
Oh my goodness. You must be
Yeah, we are busy. We are excited. We have about 300 patients on board. We got 5 more today, and we can't wait to launch this. So if you or anyone you know are pregnant, recently pregnant, or had a baby in the last 1 year, please check out www.ruthhealth.com. Give us your email. Shoot us an email and let us know kind of where you are in life. And we would love to include you in our pelvic floor recovery prenatal or postpartum pilot. And side indication, we've actually learned that for patients who experience the condition called painful sex, our pelvic floor physical therapy can also be helpful. So for all those people, we're launching in 2 weeks, but please log on to ruthhealth.com to give us your email so that you'll get updates at every step of the way.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's so exciting. We'll definitely be posting that on Grid110, sharing that with our community. And it's so inspiring to hear you talk about the work that you're doing and, bring awareness to all these people who may not even know what a pelvic floor is or may not even know they have, certain conditions that Ruth Health can help with.
Yeah, Audrey Wu, my amazing co-founder Audrey Wu, and I joke all the time that pelvic floor physical therapy needs a PR person. like your pelvic floor in general needs a PR person. And that's something that we've confirmed with many experts in the field. Kim Vopni, who's also known as the vagina coach, is one of the world's leading experts on pelvic floors. And she's based in Canada, but Kim has actually told us that she thinks someday the pelvic floor will have what like dentists had in terms of a PR campaign. Like dentistry is cool now because of these startups like Tend and such.
Mhm.
So we want to make pelvic floors cool. It's not going to be easy, but we'd like to try.
Yes, I mean, you're already doing so, going global. This is so exciting. I see a question here from Elizabeth, and I would love to know too, after sharing this big news for the coming 2 weeks, but what are some other exciting things that Ruth has happened in the last 3 months?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Elizabeth. I would say the single most exciting thing that happened to Audrey and me at Ruth Health is going to be that we closed a pre-seed round.
Woo!
So
Congrats!
thank you. It was anyone who's ever fundraised, even from a lemonade stand, knows how hard it is. We raised $725,000. It was an oversubscribed pre-seed round. And we fought for every single dime and dollar. It took me and Audrey about 6 months to raise that money, 5 to 6 months, but we set ourselves the goal of raising it in 3 months. So we missed our goal, but we met double that. And yeah, so with that funding, we're actually part of it is also from Y Combinator. So we're officially a Y Combinator batch company. Thank you, Elizabeth. And so we're in Y Combinator right now. It's very intense. That has been a big win for us to become a part of that community. Grid110 is cooler. Don't tell anyone I said that. And no, YC is amazing. We love YC. And the final most exciting thing is actually last Friday, we won the Alexa Startups Pitch Competition.
What? No way. That is so huge. Oh my goodness. Congratulations. Your hard work is all paying off. And we're so excited to see this launch in 2 weeks. We'll definitely be talking about that. So yeah, it's great to kind of like catch up on what we've been up to. But I would love to kind of, bring it back and hear about how you first involved with and what this community means to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, what doesn't it mean to us? I mean, Grid110 is where Ruth Health was born. And especially because we're a company for people being born, it's really special. A lot of people call programs like Grid110 incubators, but for us, it was a womb. And so we were very lucky to come into Grid110 as a medical device company for more comfortable speculum. That company, Dioptra, still exists. Thanks to Mickey Reynolds, that company is fully FDA funded. So we are a CTIP portfolio company, and CTIP is the West Coast Consortium for Technology and Innovation in Pediatrics. Oh my God, I can never actually say that. Exciting. What a day. What a time to be alive. And so, yeah, as a CTIP company, Dioptra is basically on hold. We have a project manager. We have a manufacturing and design team in Michigan. We are actually doing all the design and manufacturing in the USA. And we have a woman leading the project, which is... It's hard to find in the US, let me tell you. Not a lot of women engineers willing to work on a gynecological medical device. It's unfortunate. So with that said, we came into Grid110 as Dioptra. We left as Ruth Health. That's what Grid110 means to us. If we hadn't been a part of Grid110, if Mickey hadn't had this bright idea one day, we wouldn't be here.
Wow, that's so amazing. And I love how you use the term the womb. That's just, yeah, that definitely perfectly sums it up. And, it's cool to hear how your engagement and involvement with Grid110 is kind of intertwined with your founding of Ruth Health. That's amazing. And so my next question is, what led or kind of called you to tackle this issue of pregnancy?
Yeah, I mean, for Audrey and me, it was definitely going to be like Dioptra is a hardware company. The saying goes that hardware is hard. It's not profitable. It's usually a labor of love. Manufacturing is a nightmare. So Audrey and I knew that we were going to pivot to become like more of a tech play in some way.
Okay.
But we chose pregnancy because it was so obvious that healthcare inequities, which are something we're both really passionate about, the deep, deep inequities in this country are rooted in healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
And there's inequity in every facet of life, in education, in healthcare, in culture, in like it's in the air we breathe in America, in civics and government and politics. For us, healthcare inequity was the thing we wanted to tackle, because when your body and your health are at risk, it's foundational, right? When you don't have your health, you have nothing. You can't vote, you can't work, you can't take care of your family or yourself when you don't have your health. So we knew it was women's health. And then when we drilled down into that, we realized that pregnancy was actually the seat of the greatest healthcare inequity that we had ever seen. And I'll give you some examples. So our prenatal pilot soft launched here in New York City, where I am. I'm actually in the Bronx. Shout out the Bronx, shout out New York. But
East Coast.
Yes. Oh yeah, Maya's my fellow East Coaster. You're from Boston, right?
Yes, I am. Actually from Boston.
Yeah, she's actually from Boston. No, I know. It's like when I say I'm from Philly, I'm like, I was born in Philly, but I grew up in Abington. Anyway, so here in New York City, where I'm based, and my co-founder Audrey Wu is based in LA, which is how we went through Grid110. Here in New York City, the maternal mortality rate is very disastrous. Okay, so the maternal mortality rate in California as a state, just California, is 4 in 100,000 live births.
Okay.
In New York, it's 31 in 100,000 live births.
Wow.
So that's almost 8 times higher death among women who are pregnant or just gave birth in New York City than in California as a state. And so what we're seeing here, I know, it's disastrous. It's really upsetting. And Audrey and I just couldn't sit back and let that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to ask why. Why does New York City have the highest maternal mortality rate in the developed world? If we're going to work on anything in women's health, this must be the thing. Because not only is it that high, but for a Black non-Hispanic woman, the severe maternal morbidity, which is a different measure, but it's actually more important than maternal mortality, severe maternal morbidity in New York City is 12 times higher for a Black non-Hispanic woman. And, these stats are heartbreaking. They are not just statistics, they are lives and families, children, grandparents, siblings who are involved. But we also really look to our own lives. And my own sister had a very traumatic birth of my niece, who's my favorite person on planet Earth. She's 4 now. Yeah, so she's fine. And actually, one of my dear colleagues from a 3.5-year span that I did at a brand strategy firm called Siegel and Gale, her name is Jenny Eggers, and she was somebody that I sat next to for 3.5 years, who I loved, respected. She was one of very few women in a high up position at the firm where I worked. Jenny Eggers tragically died during childbirth. And she was a strong, healthy white woman who did triathlons and Ironmans. And so if somebody like Jenny Eggers is susceptible to maternal mortality, it means that, statistics aside, any one of us can go through that when we have a baby. And so that is a reason to start Ruth Health. That is a reason for anybody to work in women's health or maternal health, because we're not all safe and secure until everyone is safe and secure in birth.
Wow. Thank you, Alison. That is a huge reason, and feeling your motivation every day to wake up and on Ruth Health is just, so inspiring to hear that. Like you said, those are more than statistics. This is something happening, affecting many pregnant people, majority of pregnant people across the country, and globally, as we see. I'm curious, so what is the difference between mortality and morbidity?
Yeah, great question. So maternal morbidity or severe maternal morbidity, which is often the statistic that's cited, severe maternal morbidity is a more general statistic. And it's important because severe maternal morbidity doesn't just talk about death, it talks about healthcare conditions that are close to death, like severe preeclampsia, like a preterm birth that could put mom and baby at risk, like a hemorrhage. These are not fun topics to talk about, so hopefully everyone doesn't mind. It's a bit of a damper on their Friday, but it's really important for us to all be aware of. So those are severe maternal morbidities. It's a collection, like a constellation of health outcomes. Maternal mortality is a measure of the number of deaths of a person who's giving birth or just gave birth out of the number of live births. So when I say in New York City, maternal mortality is 31 in 100,000, it means 31 mothers who died in 100,000 live births. A lot of people say to me, oh, that doesn't sound like that many. Excuse me?
Excuse
me? Is 31 people dying?
Mm-hmm. And
you know what I'm saying.
100,000 isn't a lot when you think of all the people who live in New York. That's like, times 100, it's amplified.
At times, yeah, we're almost at 9 million people in New York, so it isn't that much. You're right. That's a really good point.
Wow. Well, thank you for clarifying that. That definitely makes sense. And I'm also wondering, how much do you think those who are looking to get pregnant or who are already pregnant or have recently given birth lack just knowledge and awareness on things like this, and that lack of kind of awareness leads them to not being able to find certain resources that they may need?
Yeah, this is such an important question because there's so many reasons why a pregnant person lacks resources. So, if we break down the things that most pregnant people don't have enough of, regardless of age, gender identity, race, ethnicity, class, income level, geography, across the world, when a pregnant person is not having the best time, when they're struggling or when they're receiving subpar care, it's typically for 3 reasons. Okay. So the first is lack of money. The second is lack of time. The third is lack of support. So let's start with lack of money. Yeah. If you are lacking in money, which is a lot of people after this pandemonium that we've been through, if you're lacking in money and you're pregnant, it means you're going to get subpar care. Then let's talk about time. And by the way, these are compounding. So if you have more than one of these, it's even worse. So if you have a lack of time, people who have a lack of time may also have a lack of money, or they might be CEOs, right? A pregnant CEO, like Jen Rubio of Away. So when Jen Rubio was pregnant, the whole world was looking at her. It was such a big deal for a pregnant person to be in such a high profile position with a venture-backed startup. But there are a lot of women in that position with power, with money, with influence. Even Kate Middleton herself, right? What do we call her? The princess? Is she the princess?
Yeah, she's the princess, yeah.
Okay, Princess Kate. Princess Kate Middleton suffered from hyperemesis gravidarum. And hyperemesis gravidarum is a really unfortunate condition that pregnant people encounter where they're very, very nauseous all of the time. Have you ever heard of morning sickness?
Definitely. Throwing up, nausea, right?
What do you think of when you think of morning sickness?
I definitely think of like throwing up, like nausea, like not being able to hold down food, probably like being fatigued all the time.
Yeah, and so on average, if you imagine like your pregnant friend who has morning sickness, like how often is she throwing up per day? This is a fun game.
Ooh, maybe 3 times a day.
Okay, that's a good guess.
Okay.
Yeah, so morning sickness would be around that much. It could be a little bit more, it could be a little bit less. Okay. If you have hyperemesis gravidarum, you may not be able to keep food down. So Kate Middleton, for example, had a really hard time keeping food down, which is terrifying. But she was also she was getting sick many times a day. So this is the Princess Kate Middleton, who was getting very, very sick, in some cases 10, 12, 15, 20 times a day. Oh, thanks, Coco. Thanks, Zoe. Love you. So what we're talking about here is a situation that is life-threatening for mom and baby, and even Princess Kate Middleton experiences it. So she may have had just a tough go at pregnancy, but my guess is she was short on time. She was not short on money. She has all the monies.
That's for
but
sure.
She's a busy, right, but she's a busy person. And when somebody gets pregnant, they sometimes feel like they need to stay busy, and it can result in not getting the care you need. But there are a lot of reasons why people go through those kinds of struggles. And then the last is a lack of support. And what I would say is that almost every single pregnant person in America is not getting enough support. So that's why we exist. That's why we created Ruth Health, because Audrey and I interviewed hundreds of pregnant people. And after talking to like 400 or 500 pregnant and recently pregnant people, we realized there was only one common thread. I mean, these are people with insurance who are underinsured, who are self-insured, who are on Medicaid. These are people even all over the world. And the only common thread was that these pregnant people didn't have enough support, either from their partner, their family, their community, or in a lot of cases, their workplace.
Wow. Thank you so much for touching on those three things. And also to hear, that they're compounding. You can have one in great, superficity and not the other, and you can still experience, problems. So, also like to the end of pregnant women needing more support, do you think that also goes along with not just pregnant women, but also pregnant people, but also those around them being educated and aware, and just our system in this country as a whole, being educated and aware of the.
Yeah, Maya, that's a really good point. I'm trying to balance you also, so sorry for the wobble. Oh wait, here, that's better. Yes, you're absolutely right. There is a huge challenge with lack of education around pregnancy, which is it's tragic because there are actually a lot of resources out here. There are a lot of options that a pregnant person has thanks to amazing companies in our space. There are women's health companies like Poppy Seed Health, ULA, Tia, even Kira from Grid110 founder Crystal Evolucioa. Oh gosh, Crystal from Kira. I'm stumbling over my words today, but these kinds of women's health startups actually do get the word out in terms of education. But the bigger challenge in terms of education is actually Dr. Google. And Dr. Google didn't go to medical school. Dr. Google isn't a doctor. Dr. Google is like one of those doctors who emails you in your spam folder and is like, you need help now for $200. And you're just like, no, go away. That's not how healthcare works. So we're all guilty of it. It's actually something that I do all the time too. Whenever you get sick, and you can hear that I'm a little bit hoarse. So I was telling Maya earlier that I actually am recovering from strep throat right now.
You believe it, everyone? She's on here. She has strep. She's a warrior. Like,
no, I'm a bad advertisement for founders who need to take better care of themselves. But in all seriousness, I think what's important for folks to know is that Google is not a place to go for healthcare. And so, yes, we're taking on the challenge of education with Ruth Health. I'm actually in the process of collating about 50 of the top FAQs that a pregnant person has, and we're going to program them into our chatbot, which is launching on July 14th. So mark your calendars, Ruth Health chatbot launching July 14th. I know there's nothing more exciting in your life on July 14th. Just kidding. I'm sure there is. There's probably a lot more exciting, but we're excited about 50 of the top FAQs worldwide. So we're crunching data in multiple languages, and we're actually going to be able to show what pregnant people are experiencing. The beauty of pregnancy is you can live in Senegal, Mexico City, Antarctica, or Los Angeles, And you might be experiencing exactly the same things as other vagina owning people, as other birthing people. But all I can say is Google, or quote unquote Dr. Google, is not the place to go for medical information. And there's a lot of misinformation on the web. There's a lot of blogs written by non-medical professionals. So we really have to be careful, because misinformation has been the source of some of those severe maternal morbidities.
I see. That's so great to know. I think everyone always jokes about like, oh, I have a cough, like WebMD tells me that I'm gonna die. Like there really is so much, misinformation out there. And great to hear how Ruth Health and all these other startups are tackling that and getting people educated. Kind of switching gears, we talk about health inequity, and tackling these injustices in the healthcare system. I'm wondering, as an openly gay entrepreneur in the healthcare industry, what kind of like you bring to that perspective, and what is being open and having pride mean to you?
Yeah, I love this question. This is such a good question. And you know what? I'm just going to say it. I love Pride Month. And I have a lot of friends who are gay or queer who don't. I totally respect that. I don't think you have to love Pride Month. In fact, I think for a lot of gay people, Pride is very sensitive. It's not rainbows and like, Target ads for most of us. It is actually really hard. It can be really hard to go through the coming out process and then to confront it again in a big way via Pride. So to people who are going through that, I have to say, like, I love you. I see you. That's a struggle and it's real. And I was going through that struggle myself for many years. Like, Pride for me was actually sometimes really sad, because I wanted to go out and party, but I wasn't actually out. So big difference between going out and being out. Now I'm out, and it's very, very exciting for me. I think a lot of people use the term baby gay for people who are only a few years out of the closet. I sort of officially came out to everyone when I was 27, but then again when I was 29. Like, this is late in life, right? Are you Gen Z?
Yes, I'm Gen Z. Yes, I'm 22.
Okay. Bless your generation, because Gen Z, according to Gallup, is 15% gay. I mean, like, if I asked you, Maya, do you have two friends who are gay?
Yes. And out. Yes.
And out. Do you have 10 friends who are queer and out?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's
so cool to hear that. Yeah. And maybe it's because I grew up in Philadelphia. Maybe it's because I'm a more feminine person, and more feminine people like me who are lesbian. I identify as a lesbian or queer or gay. It's very challenging for people like me sometimes, because the whole world looks at me and sees a straight woman. And I even dated men in the past, and there was a time when I identified as bisexual. This is not true for everyone. There are legitimately bisexual people, and don't erase them. But my story is bi now, gay later. So, it's always kind of like, it's just a silly thing to say, but when I was 18, I was bi now, and now that I'm not 18, I will not share my age, but I am gay later. So I think it's really important to tell our stories. I love Pride. My niece Lolo, who's 4, loves rainbows.
Aww.
So that makes me love Pride even more. She's a one-woman gay pride parade. I don't actually know what her sexual orientation is. She's 4. But yeah, this year Pride is really special. We didn't have Pride here in New York City last year. Not like much for Pride, for obvious reasons.
Right.
So with New York City at 70% vaccination, I'm planning to go out and I'm planning to celebrate. And that's all thanks to Pfizer. Thank you, Pfizer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Shout out Pfizer.
Yeah, I have to ask, are you vaccinated?
I am. I am.
Woo!
I actually got vaccinated pretty early on. So I got the Johnson and Johnson. Um,
Woo!
but yeah, it was great.
All
Don't
vaccinations in America are good vaccinations. And congratulations, Maya. I'm so happy to hear you got vaccinated.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel amazing. It's also great with LA opening back up a little bit and what kind of is what vaccinated people can do and have access to. Yeah, really great. And thank you so much for sharing your story. It's like you said, it's so important. There are so many people. I do have a lot of friends who are openly out and gay or queer. Some of them I've even, known in middle school or high school when they weren't out yet, and kind of like seen them go through that with their family or whomever. And be able to be safely and openly out now. So yeah, it's so important. Thank you.
There you go.
All
Thank you. And sorry, I was not trying to do a bunch of filters. I had like a rainbow filter lined up, and I can't find it. So this is the closest one. This is my pride filter. It's like a little rainbow.
Oh, I can see it. Yeah, it's like going now. That's so cool. No, I love it. It almost looks like when you get like those little rainbows from like when the light hits a certain way. If that makes sense.
Exactly. That's such a good point. Yeah, it's like a little prism type
Yeah,
filter.
a prism. I love that. Um, but yes, yeah, just thank you so much. My last question is,
Thank you. You're a great interviewer.
oh my gosh, thank you. I should pretend like I know what I'm doing. No, I'm just kidding.
You
Um,
do. You do.
thank
We,
you.
we know this about you, Maya. You do.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, finally, I would just love to hear what are some lessons and tips, any advice you have for entrepreneurs that you learned along the way in your journey. I can tell that you've been through many things, seen many things. And for our entrepreneurial community and everyone watching, I'm sure they would love to hear, whatever kind of like tidbits you can share.
Yeah, I have one tidbit. Surround yourself with people who love your vibe.
Mm,
Surround yourself with people who get you, who support you. If your energy, if your intensity, if your passion, if your work makes anybody be negative to you, you don't need them in your life.
I love that. Thank you. You definitely support my vibe, Alison. And
I am 100% into your vibe. If your vibe were a fund, I would like to invest in it.
oh my gosh, thank you. I can see how, the Grid110 community as well just eats you up. They just love you. And so I'm so excited to hear about Chatbot. We will mark July 14th and then the pelvic floor pilot. So excited about that, before we log off, is there anything in addition to that you would love to, highlight, say about Ruth Health before we end?
No, I just want to say a final shout out to my amazing co-founder, Audrey Wu, a shout out to all of our investors, especially our investors at One Venture, NLA, Gangels. Gangels is a gay angel syndicate here in New York. Happy Pride to you, Lorenzo and Emily and Niall at Gangels. And an additional shout out to our teams at GFC, to all of our incredible angels, to Jamil Bukai, our first angel, to our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Vivian Greenberg, who's my mother, without whom Ruth Health would not exist. And then a final big shout out to the whole Grid110 family, to you, Maya, Elizabeth, Mickey, Carolyn, Austin, Justin, everyone. Thank you. Without Grid110, I said it once, I'll say it again, Ruth Health wouldn't exist.
Oh my gosh, awesome. Thank you so much, Alison. It's been so great talking to you. Thank you for joining us for this IG Live. I know I speak for our whole community when I say you are such an incredible leader. Everyone's joining and they're like, I love Alison, like in the comments here, clearly.
I paid them to do that. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
oh my God. Your energy and just your leadership as an entrepreneur is so inspiring. So, thank you for taking the time to come on here and share your story. I had a great time speaking with you today.
I had a great time speaking with you too, Maya. And thanks again for having me. Have a great day, everyone.
Of course. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Happy Pride.